Great. Smaller pump. So I can put more time on my Greenside.
Hello, everyone. We are live on here a couple minutes before 5 o'clock. So I'm going to give you guys the pleasure of watching me hit a couple balls again until 5 o'clock, and then start shooting some questions and we'll rock and roll. Hopefully everyone got the message. Mondays at 5, we'll switcheroo. Ooh. That backswing look a little longer. What's up, guys? Yeah, okay, we got the little 5 o'clock thing going. Some people on here. Yeah, let's start whatever. If you guys want to fire away questions, I'm back here with Mary. She's going to fire the questions to me. So fire away whenever you want to, whatever you want to know about, talk about. I'll hit one more. Feels good. What's up, Anthony? What's up? What's up? What's up? West Palm Beach. Maybe we'll be there next winter. The good spots by West Palm Beach. Looking for a winter location. What I'm working on. I'm working on lengthening out my backswing. I don't know really when it started, but my backswing went from like reasonable good length to really, really, really short. And it kept getting shorter and shorter, I think, because I taught so many people who had a backswing that was too long. And so I'm just trying to kind of lengthen that back out and get enough turn because my turn was getting a little bit short. And downswing stuff's kind of the same, but working on lengthening out the backswing a little bit. Adding a little turn, adding a little bit of length, trying to get some kind of speed going. From Scotland, cool.
Anthony wants to know, when you're trying to hit a generally straight shot with 7-iron, what path parameters are you looking for from your launch monitor?
So when you're trying to hit a straight shot with a 7-iron from Anthony, what path parameters are you looking for? The better players that I work with or that I've seen on TrackMan have a path number usually within like 2. So I try and keep them within 2, maybe 3 on either side. So 0 club path obviously doesn't mean like just straight back and straight through. It's relative to kind of a semicircle or an arc. A 0 club path would be from about hip high to the ball back in. It should be a normal amount of arc. I like to keep good players within 2, maybe 3. When you start going 4, 5, 6 to the right or to the left, you get bigger misses. So I have a lot of good players that the path gets too far to the right, 4, 5, 6. And when you time it out, the club face with it, you can hit some kind of like hooks. You hit pushes and hooks and the path gets too far to the right. So usually within 2 or 3 is what I'm looking for. So Dan says low launch angle, 17 degrees with a 7-iron. What can I do to increase it? When you have a launch angle, there's really only a couple main factors, 2 in particular. One is dynamic loft. So how much loft you have on the club is a pitching wedge. So obviously the more the shaft leans forward, the loft goes down. The more the shaft leans back, the loft goes up. So if I wanted to hit the ball lower, you would lower the loft. If I want to hit it higher, you would add loft. If you're at a low launch, I would check dynamic loft. Is your dynamic loft too low and why? That could be too much shaft lean. That could be grip related, so on and so forth. You okay back there?
We're good.
That would be number 1, would be dynamic loft. You would look at angle of attack. So the more down you hit on a ball, the lower it launches. The shallower you hit a ball, the higher it launches. So you would look at angle of attack. You should also look at where you contact on the face. If you hit the ball lower on the face, it'll launch low. It'll kick your dynamic loft low. If you hit in the middle or high, it'll launch higher. So dynamic loft, angle of attack, where you hit on the face. Of course, I'd have to see you actually swing to say which one of those and how do you change it. But those are the 3 pieces that you're looking for.
James wants to know if you have any advice on completing my backswing. Any swing thoughts?
So swing thoughts from James on completing the backswing. Yeah, there's a couple different things there. One would be I would ensure that you have a big or good enough body turn, right? So get yourself fully all the way turned towards the top and check it. Something a lot of people like with that is a tempo, right? Or something tempo related, which could even include a pause at the top. You could go up to the top, full pause, 1, 2, and then make a downswing motion with that. So I would say ensure a big turn if you need to. Like if you're too quick in the transition from the top, go all the way up, do a full pause and hit. You might hit a couple goofy from there in the beginning. Like I would do this, hop in and actually literally count from the top, 1, 2, and then hit a shot from there, and not really worry about the contact in the beginning, but just making a full backswing turn from there.
Joe wants to know, do you have a good drill to get my hip more open at impact? Maybe go over downswings sequence. Thank you.
So Joe said, do I have a good drill to get your hip more open? I have a lot of good drills and a rotation masterclass product that's probably going to be out in like 3 weeks. So that'll be better for that. But yeah, rotation drills, there's a million of them. What I would say is one, if you don't open enough, and maybe you have too much slide, right? If you don't open enough, is there anything going on in your swing earlier that's causing that? Like a open club face, like a backswing that's not deep enough, like a downswing swing direction issue. Most of the time when you can't open, if you've been trying to, there's something going on earlier that's not allowing it. Those would be the three biggies I would look at first. And then drill wise, there's a million different things. You could take something like a chair or an object and put it in front of you. I would put something about a fist length in front of your trail hip here or trail thigh. So something like right here, and make some down swings and don't hit that with your thigh. It's okay if your knee goes out, but not your actual hip. That would be one like that. Drills like that. Did we post the video up of those rotation? That's just all in the masterclass.
In the masterclass.
Yeah, there's going to be a masterclass thing coming out with more specific drills for that. But there's so many drills, man. If you look at our old videos, just search my name and rotation or search my name and how to stop a slide. There's a lot of different ones for that. Yeah, yep.
What's the overtop swing fix?
What's the over the top swing fix? It depends on why you're over the top. Most people who swing too far over the top swing over the top because their club face is too open. That could be because of a weak grip. That could be because of a cupped left hand. That could be from a bunch of different reasons. So if you're too over the top, I would shut your club face in some way, shape, or form, or at least square it with grip, with wrist conditions, and get the ball curving to the left. So even if I'm swinging over the top like this, and I get my club face shut, you're going to hit pull hooks, pull hooks, pull hooks, pull hooks. And eventually you're going to get tired, hopefully, of hitting them left. And because your club face is now more closed, you have motivation to change your swing direction. So if you don't have motivation, if your brain doesn't have motivation to make a change, it's never going to do it. That's why I bring club face up all the time. If your face is too open, where are you going to swing the club? You're going to swing over the top just to hit it towards a target, right? So I would change the club face first, figure out why it's open, and then fix it. If your club face is not open and you're still over the top, then it's probably a body sequencing issue. So I have to see that to say for sure.
Greg says, what's going on there?
What's up, Greg?
Struggling to get up to my driver. Any tips there, and what's the ideal amount of degrees you're looking for?
So struggling to hit up with your driver, how to do it, and what are the things degrees? Up versus down with your driver's debate that's ongoing amongst us teaching professionals. The point of it is the more up you hit on the ball relative to your speed, the farther the ball goes. How far up or down should you hit? People throw out this stat all the time on the PGA Tour that the average is -1. That's because their club head speed's like 110, 115, 120, 130. If you swing 120 miles or more, you don't have to worry about hitting up. You can hit neutral or down, still hit it over 300 yards. If you swing 90 miles an hour or 80 or even 100, then you probably want to hit up to hit the ball farther. What are you going to do that? There's a lot of pieces. I would first start with setup. Make sure the ball's forward enough in your stance. I like to have it about in line with the left armpit. Make sure the ball is teed up high enough, right? So I would say those two simple little things to start with. In swing, right, in terms of body motions, I want to make sure I have a lot of extension in my follow through, belt buckle up towards the sky, hips push forward, chest up towards the sky here. The more I swing where I stay chest down, forward flexed, this is low, hitting down on it. This is up, hitting up on it. And then, of course, downswing, swing direction. The more shallow I get the club working into the ball, the easier it is to hit up. The steeper I come during the downswing, the more I would hit down. We have a couple drills if you go back in previous videos where we put a pool noodle or object, a grip in front of the golf ball or an object in that you have to hit over. So I would do something like that to start with. I like to see maybe 2-3 degrees up for a normal player. If you really want to try and launch it and gain a lot of distance, maybe 5 or 6 degrees up. But you have to understand when you get that far up, you could compromise low point and contact. So depends on the player and your speed.
Aaron says, I'm working on swinging more left. Have a hard time feeling like I'm going to hit hooks because it feels like the face is going to be way too closed, knowing it has to be shut to hit draws.
Is that a question or a statement in there?
That's a statement. I think
he's a hard time swinging left.
The question is the hard time feeling like.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have a hard time feeling, this is Aaron, with a hard time feeling like you're swinging left, which I'm assuming means normally you're too far inside out, and you're trying to swing more left, maybe at or past impact and neutralize your club path. There's a million different drills you can do. If you look at our one video called How to Fix Your Hook for Good, I believe it's called. I went through 3 different drills in terms of fixing a hook. One is you put a range bucket between you and the ball here like this, which would influence your swing direction. Another one's actually putting an alignment rod there, or you can put an alignment rod in the front. So if you want to fix swing direction, again, I'm assuming you're saying you're too far inside out. I would figure out, is there a reason you're too far inside out? If not, can you leave it inside out and just add body rotation? That's one option. Or don't add the body rotation as much and get the club back in front of you and put an object back here and feel it earlier. So yeah, it kind of depends. There's a couple different options there. Add body rotation or get it back in front of you sooner. I would check those drills to start with.
Ruben's asking your best tips with the Tour Striker Smart Ball, especially trying to hit balls with it, and can it help the driver swing?
Tour Striker Smart Ball, which we'll put a link in the description after we're done with the video, is an awesome tool for a lot of different things. So you'll see it a lot more now, especially on the tour and different guys doing things. The point being, the ball keeps your elbows close together, which changes a million different things. What I like about the Tour Striker ball and practicing with it is efficiency. Even if no matter kind of where you're at, so long as you're not someone who likes to go really internal at the top. If you like to go really internal at the top, then you probably shouldn't do it. But if you don't and you want to go more neutral with it, almost everyone should pop something like this in just to practice, even if it's 10, 20 balls at the beginning of your range session. When you keep your elbows closer together, it's the structure of that encourages so many good things. It's ridiculous. It encourages good wrist structure. It encourages turn, right? So when you put this between your arms, it forces you to have a good amount of turn and use your pivot. It forces you, or it helps you to keep some width in transition. So I like this for just about anyone. The beginning of the range sessions, just to build a structure, a foundational piece. Yeah. I probably wouldn't do it as much with the driver. I mean, just like wouldn't do a lot of drills with the driver in general. You can, but if you do the drill in a motion, I like to use, or a lot of us will use a shorter iron for it. That motion will transfer to your driver anyway. So I don't see the need to do it with a driver. What would you do with this? I would just put it between your arms and start to hit some little half shots and get a feel for what that looks like and give yourself feedback and see if that cleans up. Like a lot of you guys could put a Tour Striker ball in and it would clean up a lot of your takeaway stuff. It would clean up a lot of your top of swing stuff. It would clean up a lot of your transition stuff by just keeping your elbows closer together through the whole swing. Huge correlation in skill of golfer and how close their elbows are. The better the golfer almost always has closer elbows throughout the entire downswing specifically, and their elbows are getting closer together. Whereas poor golfers, the elbows are getting farther apart, especially during the downswing phases or into the finish phases, into the release pattern, where good players keep their elbows closer together. So almost across the board, that would be good for everyone.
Best advice you have on hitting a low punch drawing shot?
Low punch drawing shot. That's my specialty. So I'll show you. Low punch drawing shot, couple things. Number one is if we want the ball to go lower than normal, what are we going to do? 2 main factors to hit the ball lower. 1, dynamic loft. Less loft, the ball goes lower. More loft, the ball goes higher. We want to control that. Number 2 is angle of attack. The more down I hit on a ball, the lower it launches. The more I sweep the ball off of the ground, more shallow, the higher it launches. For a low draw, we want low dynamic loft, so a lot of shaft lean, and we want a downward angle of attack. What's the easiest way to do that? Ball position back in the stance. If I shift my ball position back in my stance, here's normal. I go here. Okay, so I don't know, play around with it, a ball, 2, 3 balls. That would be one. I'm going to hit more down, and I'm automatically going to hit more out with that. So I would have my handle forward, ball back, probably a little more weight on my left leg. I might grip down an inch or two. And then from there, I'm also going to feel like I kick my path out to the right, right? So I'd probably stand a little closer to it, ball a little back. You can close the face a little if you want. And I'm going to feel like I'm staying a little bit more left and kicking my path out to the right. I'm probably not going to feel, I don't need to have as much face rotation, but I'm definitely going to have the ball back, stay back, and I'm going to feel like I'm hitting down and out on the golf ball. Most of that's done just through setup pieces.
Jeff is asking, what about pausing at the end of backswing while playing, not just as a drill?
Yeah, if you can hit it good, if you can hit it good, you could Hideki Matsuyama your way through the whole round. That's the beautiful thing about golf. You can do whatever the heck you want. So if you want to pause up there, or if you want to do just as a drill to make it sink in and play, and don't care if you don't play good too, then that's fine. Absolutely.
What tension should you have in the arms? Some pros on YouTube recommend have your arms turn off, i.e.
Yeah.
dead weight.
What tension should you have in your arms? I've seen good players. I'm going to answer this indirectly, kind of. I've seen good players, right? Let me backtrack. There's a difference between grip tension or strength and arm tension. I've seen really good players have really tight grips, and I've seen really good players have really loose grips. So I can't say one is better than the other. I could make arguments for both sides, but pretty much across the board, I would say the arms, right, and forearms are not super tense. Even if you, right, some players have a strong grip, but loose arms. You get the difference there? Strong grip, but loose arms. So arms loose, grip can be strong or soft. You can go either way. Fabio, let's go. Duck hook help, Fabio. The ball duck hooking to the left, there's 3 main parts you have to look at as to why are you doing that. One would be a path that's too far inside out. 2, of course, is a club face that's too closed. And 3 would be off-center contact, in particular with the driver hitting too far on the toe can create a duck hook. And if you hit far enough on the heel, usually the heel gears it to the right, would be a fade. But if you hit far enough on the heel, you could duck hook there too. So is your path too far inside out? Is your face too closed? And are you hitting it off center? Which one of those 3 and why are you doing it? So I kind of have to see that. But I would say what I would fix for sure and start with is the path part. It's harder to hit a duck hook. Okay, most people I see hit a duck hook are too far inside out, right? They have a face issue with that and they hit it off center. So depends on why that is, but I would start by neutralizing your club path first. And you could just do something as simple as this. So I got this little Mike Bender holder, not affiliate. Will not be a link in the description down below. Okay. So I would start with something like this here and just have this in terms of like swing direction. And what's up, dude? And I would just have this for like not swinging too far inside out. So this is just a little stick holder. You can use like a range bucket or whatever. And I would have this and be swinging over the top of it and ensure that it's not your path first. If you're hitting duck hooks with a neutral path, then it's a different conversation. So I would fix your path stuff first.
Jeff is saying tips for hitting 20-yard shots off of hard pan.
20-yard shots off of hard pan. There's a couple different ways to do that when you're on hard pan. You have to decide if you want to try and clip it perfect, if you want to try and use the bounce, or how you're going to do it. Because you can use the bounce and open the face still. If I'm on hard pan, I'm probably taking just my neutral setup, ball in the middle of my feet close together, shaft neutral. I'm not going ball back, hands forward with like this with a lot of dig. I'm going more neutral. On hard pan, I like to raise the shaft like this here. And I sometimes will even purposely try and hit it a little off the toe and utilize the bounce. So I go normal, raise the shaft up a little bit like so. And I'm trying to clip the ball off of the turf. I'm not trying to put the ball back, right? I'm not going like this here. I'm going like this, and I'm trying to have the shaft return at impact to like 90 degrees. So for some of you, it's going to feel like even a little bit kind of flippy here. I don't want to be way here. I want to be more this way with my release pad, more like a finesse wedge sequence.
This comment and question.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Eric. I informed my golfing buddy about your chipping method, and after weekend playing, we now call this chip the Eric chip. Awesome.
The Eric chip. Yeah,
you're
cool. Good.
George, hello, Eric. Do you prefer a drive hold through impact or more of a supination type release? Does either depend on your grip?
So do I prefer was that Neil?
That's actually George.
George,
asking that
sorry.
question, yep.
George says, do I prefer a drive hold release pattern or more of supination? Does it depend on your grip? It does depend on your grip. So I don't prefer either one. The stronger grip you have here like this, right? The stronger the grip pattern, the more square the face is, the more you can drive hold a la Dustin Johnson type of method. That's more of a Kelvin Mia here prefers that type of release. Stable club face, that's fine. I don't care, that's fine. Or if you have a weaker grip pattern, you either need to add more supination or a bunch more flexion at some point during the downswing just to square the face, right? So here's a square face with a weak grip. Here would be a flat left wrist. I have to bow it down to square it. If I had a really strong grip, the face is still turned down and I have some cup in my left wrist. So it really depends on your grip pattern. Stronger grip for drive hold, weaker grip, more supination, more flexion. Either one can work. We can't buy into this like less club face closure means more accuracy, less timing. That's not completely true.
So Anthony is saying his glove is wearing thumb after only a few rounds for help. It's getting expensive buying a new glove every couple of weeks.
And that's like a setup there.
Right?
Anthony, is that Anthony? Are you affiliated with Up Glove?
Jones, right.
Anthony Jones says that he is wearing through his glove and it's getting expensive. We work with a company called Up Glove. That was like a T-ball. We work with a company called Up Glove, which I actually use. You can see I've been using here. This is probably 2 months worth of me using something like that. And it still fits good, and I like it. The link will be in the description after we're done. Up Glove is like a Dollar Shave Club for golf gloves. You get 2 gloves for $19.99, I think. 3 gloves for $30. You can do it monthly or quarterly. So I would check out Up Glove. I genuinely like it.
John is saying he wants to with every club, and to the best he can determine, he's not getting a proper face angle on the ball because of what's happening with his hands.
John says he's losing distance, right? So when you're talking about losing distance, and especially if it happens out of nowhere, that's almost always dynamic loft related. If you hit a ball a certain distance with a 7-iron, right, or any club you have, that distance is dictated by your club head speed and the dynamic loft, mostly. There's angle of attack, there's spin, okay, there's other things. But really, it's how fast you swing the club and what's your dynamic loft and solid contact. So if you're hitting it short out of nowhere, is your club head speed drastically changing out of nowhere slower? Probably not. What's changing is the dynamic loft. So you're probably adding too much loft. Like you said, the face is not squaring up. So you have to fix that. Why is that? No idea. That could be grip. That could be arm rotation. That could be your cup and your lead wrist too much. You have to figure out why that's happening and fix it. I would need to see your swing genuinely to know why you're doing that.
A lot of people use the word help tonight.
Help, yeah.
So T-Beard
says,
the more I shallow the club, the more it feels wide open, and I have a hard time squaring the club face. I keep pushing it right. Help, please.
So the more I shallow the club, it feels like the club is wide open and I keep pushing it. And when you shallow the club, if it goes back behind you, especially if there's arm rotation, specifically lead arm pronation, trail arm supination, which makes the club fall back this way, it looks like the club face gets open to the plane. You can adjust that with a couple different things. One would be left wrist flexing in transition. Okay, that would change the loft of the club in space. Your trail hand, right wrist can bend more back as you do it. So changing the wrist conditions would change the face angle. You can add more arm supination later during the downswing, which isn't necessarily adding more timing or wrong, like some people say. Okay, you can add supination late is okay. You can do wrist conditions early, or you can change grip. It's kind of one of those things. It depends on how you're shallowing. The more you're kind of manipulating it with your arms and hands right behind you, the more the face could get open. You got to do something later to square it, or change the wrist conditions early in transition. I would try the wrist conditions part first.
Bruce asks, can standing too far from the ball encourage a steep angle of attack? I was too steep last year, but when I moved uncomfortably close to the ball, the club shallowed out naturally.
Can standing too far away from the ball cause a steep angle of attack? Well, you know, really, honestly, it could go both ways because it depends on the weight in your feet. We got to do a video on this, which means if I take my setup and I'm too far away from the ball, probably where's my weight and my toes going to go to compensate? I just answered my own question. If I'm standing too far away, my weight's going to probably go towards my toes so I can get to the ball. Okay. Now, if I stand too close to it, my weight's probably going to go towards my heels to create space. Why is that important? If I'm forward and on my toes early, I'm probably going to be up and back on my heels late, which will change my body orientation, swing direction. If I'm close, and my weight's this way, and I have to counterbalance that in swing, that can change my body orientations as well. So I don't see a one-to-one correlation with standing close and being steep or standing far and being shallow now. Depends on what other parts are in there.
Brendan says, I feel like my driver swing is way different than my iron swing. Is that a problem?
Feel like my driver swing is different than my iron swing. Is that a problem? No, there's going to be some minor differences based on setup, right? So when I have a driver setup versus an iron setup, a couple of things are going to be different. One is going to be posture related. When I have a driver setup, I'm going to be a little bit taller. My club face at first parallel is going to be a little less tilted down. That's going to change. My tilts might be a little bit different compared to where my body is going to be for a wedge. See where I'm standing here for a wedge. And then for my driver, I'm not in that same position. I'm a lot taller with my upper body. So that's going to change my overall swing plane, my shoulder tilts, etc. So there's going to be some minor differences, but are you feeling anything drastically different? Probably not. The one difference with the driver, obviously, is the ball's teed up. So the angle of attack, right? That's probably the only club that you might be hitting up a little on. So with the driver, you might need to shift your swing direction a little bit more to the right to neutralize the upward angle of attack. But other than that, there shouldn't really be huge differences. Your ball pattern could be different, even though you're physically not doing that much different just because of the way the club is designed. So, yeah, it's another one where like I'd have to see it.
Jeff's asking about your thoughts on putt play training aid.
Putt play, I don't know what that is. Put a link on the thing for putt play. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe I've seen it, but I don't know it by name.
Drill to lower your hands at impact.
Drill to lower your hands at impact. We have a couple of early extension videos that were out in the past couple of weeks. If you want to know more about this, there is a Tour Striker device here, impact strap, I believe it's called, where I would put this on. We'll put links for this stuff in there. Where I would put this on, right, and I would strap it around. My buddy was using this, so it's a little jacked up. But essentially, I would put this on, and it maintains the angle. I'm not going to rewire because he was messing with it. But it maintains the angle here as I go, right? So it's the impact strap from Tour Striker, which keeps this angle here between your two arms. If you look at this angle to lower your hands is really all about this. So radial deviation or hinge and unhinge, ulnar deviation. So the more narrow this angle is right here through hinge, if I come down to impact, right, makes my hands lower. If I unhinge this a lot, ulnar deviate, this is very straight, and I come down to impact, my hands are a lot higher there. So it's all about what this angle is. You can feel during your downswing almost like there's like a wall here or a wall here like this, and you're trying to keep your hands underneath that wall, and kind of the club is kicking out a little bit more. If you watch the early extension videos we did, the drills will be more specific in that, but I would start with those feels, maybe test out an impact strap, or feel like this angle, this little triangle deal here for you gets maintained a little bit more during your downswing. If your handle gets too high, too late this way, it shifts your swing direction a little bit more to the right. If you keep this lower, you can keep your body orientations, neutralize your swing direction a little better.
For the people that you mentioned, I'd need to see your swing. Do you want to know about the 7-day free trial?
Yeah, while you guys are on here too, in terms of when I'm saying seeing your swing, and I do genuinely mean that, we are going to do a 7-day free trial to CogornoGolf.com, our membership site. You can try it for free, okay? And you got to put your credit card information in there. And after the 7 days, you decide whether you want to hang out and stay, or you can leave and just cancel within 7 days. You can see all of this stuff on the site and the Facebook group where you can post your swings. When you guys post these things up, I do the best I can to answer in general and based on people I see. But the reality is, if I can see your swing, or if you've ever done an online lesson with me or in the group like that, it expedites the process tremendously. And it doesn't even need to be me. Like, I want to help you guys. I want you to try it out, okay? You get a free trial. Or just work with someone in person, man. Being able to see your swing as you go helps so much more. It's ridiculous. So we'll post a link in the description after we're done for that. If you guys want to try that out for free. Okay. Yes.
Ian's asking, can you take a minute and talk about the role and position of the right elbow angle on the downswing and through impact and the wrist cup?
So right arm and elbow during the downswing. Now, what your right arm and elbow does during your downswing is dependent on where you are at the top. So first things first, at the top, if I am, so here's just normal. This is internally rotated. This is externally rotated. Internal, external. If I'm at the top and I'm internally rotated, flying right elbow like this, then I need to do a little bit more in transition and externally rotate my shoulder to get my elbows back together like so. If I go to the top and I'm already externally rotated, more like this, then my elbows are already closer together. The club will be more laid off if I have normal arm conditions. I can just keep my elbows together in transition. So it depends on where you are at the top in terms of that. Then if your arm and shoulder are more internally rotated, your elbow gets farther from your body. If your arm and shoulder are more externally rotated, your elbow gets closer to your body. Here's external rotation. Here's internal rotation. See the difference there? So some of you guys, you look in the downswing and you see this, like lag look, my arm is just externally rotated. If I internally rotate it like this, now look at the difference there. External rotation, you guys like that. Internal rotation, you don't like that. So the elbow getting closer to the body, or this idea of getting your elbow in front, all that is an externally rotated arm and shoulder with a little bit of right arm supination. And that puts you like this. If I have, we're going to do a video on this. If I have internal rotation like this and or pronation of my right arm, the club goes this way. Here's internal rotation and pronation. Here's external rotation and supination. See the difference there? So if you want to get your elbow more in front, if you want to get that right elbow underneath your left and closer to you as you're turning, you want more external rotation in transition or the downswing. I like to see the elbow in front of the seam line of your shirt at all times. So I don't want it ever to go behind you on the backswing. If you're going to go deep with it, you got to turn your body a lot and get it back in front of the seam line. So it's going to be kind of here on the right side of your body as you turn all the way through like that.
Ask Keith Jones if that answered his question too, because he was asking about drills to get his right elbow and arm.
Keith Jones, let me know if that answered your question as well.
Okay. What's a good way to check if your club angles or club lie angles are correct? Sorry.
Club lie angles, you can do a lie board. You can do a lie board and see where you're contacting the bottom of the club. So if you put like tape on the bottom of your club and have a little lie board, when you hit, if it's toe side like this, your clubs are too flat, you would want to make them more upright. If you hit towards the heel, they're too upright, you would want to make them flatter relative to what you're currently doing. You can also take a golf ball and take a marker, a Sharpie, and just draw a line on the ball. So you'd like draw a line like here, and you'd put it towards the club, you'd hit it, and you'd see where the line would look on your club, right? If it was crooked this way or crooked this way, that would also tell you your lie angle there. So either of those two will work.
Michael, a secret golfer and practice England have almost eliminated early extension, still having trouble getting full extension.
Trouble eliminating early extension still was
basically eliminated early,
yep.
Trouble getting full.
Trouble getting full extension. Clarify in your comments. You mean full extension into the follow through like this? That's what you mean? Yes, no? Do the next one. I'll come back to that.
Yep. Tips on hitting longer greenside bunker shots, Jeff is asking.
Good question, Jeff. Longer greenside bunker shots. Well, the first thing I would do in a longer greenside bunker shot is say you need to make a decision on what club you're going to use. A lot of you guys just assume a 56 or 60 degree wedge. When I have a longer bunker shot, sometimes I'll use a 52 degree wedge. Sometimes I'll use a pitching wedge. Sometimes I'll use a 9-iron. I use a 9-iron a lot from like 30, 40, 25, 30, 40 yards, because I can just make my same swing. If I hit a baseline bunker shot with a sand wedge like this, which to me, I like bunker shots like this. Okay, so club face open, wide stance, knees apart, weight and spine very neutral here like this. This would just be like a baseline bunker swing. If I want to use my sand wedge and make it go farther, okay, I either have to have the face not as open, which means then I have less bounce, which means for me, I don't like that because my contact needs to be more perfect. You can do it, okay, if you're skilled enough, you can do these things. I'd rather keep the club face open, literally make the same swing and just take a 9-iron. Keep the ball position the same. I might move the ball slightly farther back if I'm going farther, if I want to launch it lower, but everything else is the same. Shaft is neutral. I'm making a normal bunker shot and just letting more club make it go farther. Or I have to use my sand wedge, but then I need to square the face more or swing a lot faster or harder, and I don't want to do that. So switch clubs.
Switch clubs.
Yeah.
Tom, I assume he's saying he's having a problem with his right foot coming up early in the downswing, even if bum stays on the line.
Yeah, problems with the right foot coming up too early in the downswing. One, I would say sometimes the right foot coming up too early is not a problem, even though it might not look good, but maybe it is. The problem with the right foot coming up too early is pressure in the feet, meaning if I take a normal setup here like so, right, and I take a normal deal and my weight is just forward of the arches in the middle, when I make a backswing, I want the pressure in the right foot to be in the middle or slightly towards the right heel. And I want to go from there basically directly to the middle of my left foot and into my left heel. If I'm at the top, I don't want my weight to go towards my left toe and my right toe too much. What'll happen is I go too far forward, my pelvis will kick in, my chest gets farther from the ball, and I'm going to have a vertical shaft angle, probably toe shots, face control issues. I want to go from the middle or right heel into my left heel. See how that creates depth there when I do that. Now, if you go towards your right toe too much, sometimes what happens, okay, not Justin Thomas, he can get away with it and do it, but most people who go towards their toe, their knee kicks in, their pelvis kicks in, their body gets farther away from the ground. One simple thing you can do in terms of a drill wise, trying to get better at giving you guys drills, even though you know I like feels, is put a club underneath your right heel like this and hit a shot and keep it under there until all the way into the finish position. It'll feel like your right foot stays down farther. Just make sure when you do that, you're still turning your pelvis, okay, and still shifting when you do that. But club underneath your right heel. Give yourself feedback on that live view video, something.
Very important. Mega Anonymous 212 is saying, what's your site again? Is it Course Kings?
Mega Anonymous, what's my site? My site is not Course Kings, but they do have a good site. I did check that out. My site is cogornogolf.com, COGORNO golf.com. We'll put the link in the description down below.
What's your feel for controlling angle of attack?
Samuel, what's my feel for controlling angle of attack? I don't really do anything in particular in terms of controlling angle of attack, other than when I want to change trajectory. If I want to purposely hit the ball lower, I will feel like I hit down more on the ball. If I want to hit the ball higher in the air, I'll feel like I pick the ball up off the turf. I don't do anything mechanically different to do that. I think about that just like shooting a basketball or throwing a baseball. I say, Eric, hit down more, and I hit down more. I say, Eric, pick it, hit more shallow, and I pick it more shallow. Of course, are there micro movements of my body working differently as I do it? Sure. When I'm hitting a lower shot, right, if we measured it, I'm sure that I'm staying forward flex a little bit longer as I come down. I'm putting the ball position back. If I want to go more shallow and hit it higher, I'm sure that I'm going into a little bit more extension, maybe adding a little bit of tilt or right side bend. But I'm just really thinking being athletic with it. But those are the micro pieces.
Can you go into more detail about the left shoulder staying down and around?
So more detail about the left shoulder staying down and around. If I were to look at a stock swing model, when I take my setup, I have a pitching wedge. So pitching wedge, I'm looking for very little tilt, maybe 0-1 degree. 8-iron, 7-iron, there might be 2-3 degrees for. Driver might be 5, 6, 7, 8 degrees. So with a shorter club, I'm starting with very little shoulder tilt. The idea is that at P6, at last parallel here like this, my shoulders are at the same angle that I started. So if I'm here with a pitching wedge and I have, let's say 1 degree of tilt here like this, by the time I get down to P6, I want to be back to about 1 degree of tilt, which would be about right here. Now, for some of you guys, when your shoulder goes up too much like this right away, you need to feel like it goes down and around and exaggerate so that at P6, it just looks more level. The problem with the left shoulder going up is what happens to my pelvis. If I stand here like this and I kick my hips forward, my upper body goes where? Back. And the same thing here. If I pull my left shoulder and make it go up here, not an independent shrug motion, I'm talking like actually my shoulder goes up like this, my body tilts back to the right, my hips kick forward. Now, can you do that and add a lot of turn and play good golf with there and match it up? Sure you can. But most people who tilt too much this way, have vertical swing plane issues, and the club shaft typically gets too vertical, off-centered contact, swing direction, club face control issues. I don't know if that answered the question, but that's the deal.
Jeff is asking, how do you correctly create pressure shifts starting your downswing?
How do you create pressure shifts starting your downswing? This one, and when we put in the videos, I try and make it as clear as possible that I'm saying it depends on where you're coming from. So what you should feel to start your downswing is highly dependent to me on where you're coming from. At the top of the swing, if we assume a normal pressure shift, I start about 50-50. My body mass stays centered, but I shift some pressure to the right in my foot, maybe 70% of my right foot. When I transition down, there's a big pressure shift to the left early. Now, that doesn't mean a big mass shift. Just like I said during the backswing, I don't shift a lot of mass, but I do shift pressure. On my downswing, it's the same thing. I can shift pressure without shifting a ton of mass early. Okay, so I'm shifting pressure left, just a little bit of mass is changing. I'm working towards my left heel, and then I'm pushing out of the ground from about P6 up to the top. So from here, I'm normal. I'm shifting pressure, not a lot of mass. Okay, I'm shifting pressure, not a lot of mass. And then once I'm down to about P6, I'm in my left heel, and I'm pushing up and out and extending from there. So if you normally go too far forward too early, then you need to feel like you sit into your right a little bit more, okay? If you're too far right too long, you don't push off, you might need to feel like you push left a little bit sooner. So it really depends on where you're coming from.
John is asking, do you run any schools or clinics during the year?
John, do I run any schools or clinics during the year? I haven't done any organized golf schools. We're planning a couple out for this year. We're probably going to do like one a month, I'm thinking, starting in May. I'm a little bit behind on scheduling all of those, so we're kind of working through that. So we will be doing some this year and doing more kind of multi-person, multi-day school stuff. The link in all of the YouTube videos to my Acuity scheduling link, you can find all the info there about in-person lessons, golf schools, online lessons, all that stuff.
Mike is saying, would you say generally your swing concepts require irons that have a standard lie or flat?
Would I say my swing concepts require a club with standard lie or flat? I would say neither. I think, people always ask me questions about my philosophies or my swing model or whatever. And I don't really have any swing philosophies or models other than I look at what good golfers do and try and find similarities and find patterns within them and how to match them together. And then just kind of reproduce those thoughts to you guys that I've done with in-person people that have actually worked. Okay. Not like theory. Here's what I think. Like actually this has worked before and works for players. So with that, I've got a lot of players who have upright lies. I have a lot of players who's flat lies and neutral. So I'd say neither one really.
Remy from Holland.
Remy from Holland.
Is saying,
garbage time.
Yeah. How do you maintain your shoulder tilt while squatting down in the downswing?
Remy, how do you maintain your shoulder tilt while squatting down? Well, squat move independently actually doesn't have anything to do with a shoulder tilt, meaning I could stand here like this and squat and have shoulders that are tilted or not. So here's basically a pure squat motion, right? So what my shoulders are from that are really completely independent. So I can squat down, I can add rotation, and I can have tilt and right side bend or not, and I can go up to the top and have left side lower in transition and add more tilt and turn if I want to. So how much you go down this way in terms of a squat motion or increasing flex with your legs is really independent of the shoulder tilt, two different things.
Michael, who was saying that he had eliminated early extension, but working on full extension.
Oh, yeah.
Clarified and said, yes, full and proper extension. So what you were showing.
Yeah, so if you're struggling with extension into the follow through, which would mean maybe your pelvis is back, chest is forward in this sort of motion, I would start off with feels and then monitor them, which would be trying to take your belt buckle, right, from about P6 here and making that go as far forward as possible, squeezing your butt cheeks together like so, and getting your chest and shirt buttons up towards the sky. So the feels would be belt buckle up, squeezing your butt, tucking your hips underneath yourself, chest up towards the sky. We did a video on how to push off your right foot and rotate several months ago, where I put the stick in the ground and said, hey, one of the feels is you got a stick in the ground, you're pulling it from here and you're pulling it up out of the ground, or you're taking a ball back here and you're throwing it up over the wall. The thing to understand, if you had early extension, which is this, okay, that's just early extension, right? You want to keep that extension in. You just want to turn before you extend and have your extension go up and to the left this way. So if you took your extension out and just turned, then we have a new problem, right? So get that extension back in, just make sure you rotate before you do so.
Jeff is saying, do you think waiting a few minutes between shots on the range is the best way to practice? Simulate playing on the course.
Absolutely. Jeff said, do I think waiting a few seconds or moments between shots is the best way to practice and simulate conditions on the course? 100%. Now, not the whole practice session, but a portion of the practice session. We put out a video. I keep referencing these so you guys can go back and get more detail on them, not to like plug our videos. You guys already hear. We did a video on the perfect practice routine, which I broke down 100-ball set and said, what I want you to do is practice in 4 different quadrants, if you will. The first 25 balls do a warm-up and wedge distance control. You guys are not good enough at controlling your distance from 0 to 150 yards. Like maybe one person on here is maybe. So you can spend more time in terms of controlling distance from 0 to 150 where you're actually going to score and hit the ball close enough to make a putt. You should spend the first 25 balls on that. You should spend the second 25 balls on pure mechanics. In those two phases, you do not have to take time between the shots. In the third phase, you're doing skill practice. Again, you do not need to take time between the shots. And the last phase, you're doing game-like conditions. That's where I would make sure you take time between the shots. I would do at least some portion of your practice, usually at the end, where you simulate course conditions as much as possible, which is switching targets, switching clubs, switching distances, and doing routines with a consequence as much as possible within that last phase of practice. You can do it for the whole practice. It's not going to hurt. It's just taking more time. Whereas your best ROI on your time is just to do it at the end for the last portion of it.
Anton is asking, best drill to shallow your divots and strike your irons pure.
Best drill to shallow your divots and strike your irons pure would be to shallow your downswing swing direction. You can have a shallow downswing in terms of angle of attack a couple different ways. Some guys I see that come in and gals get steep early and then they get shallow late, and it produces a nice shallow number on my TrackMan, but it's not good. What I want to have you do is hit the club a little bit shallower earlier, right? Like so, and then learn to rotate with it. So what could you do to do that? We have some older drills where we did an object in front of the ball, right? So I would take this setup and I'd take like a head cover or a noodle or something and put it in front of the ball like so. This is probably a little too big, but I would go like this. In fact, that's definitely too big. But I would go something like this, like 2 grip lengths in front, and I'd learn to clip the mat and miss the noodle. And really what you're going to feel is like the club is working much more up past impact. Like you're adding a lot more of that extension piece I was just talking about. In the follow through, if you want to feel that, that will help. Object in front of the ball. Like anything else, going to take some practice. But if you're too steep with it, you can throw this in, hit some wedges in the beginning to work with. Or really what you should do is shallow your downswing, which would be having a station in like any of our shallow your downswing videos where you have a stick or something like it back here. Like so, let's see if my shaky hands, okay. I would put something like this, like in all of our videos, where I have to make a downswing and miss this stick from the inside. And if I do so, if my swing direction is far enough to the right and the club shallows behind me, my angle of attack will be shallow by itself. So how to hit a draw practice station, this is in, or any of the shallow your downswing videos, you'll see that practice station in.
What are your feelings about 64-degree wedges?
64-degree wedges to me are almost completely ridiculous for the greater majority of players. Can an elite, here's the arguments, some guys on tour have an elite player. Guys who are on the PGA Tour can do whatever the heck they want. That's like talking about LeBron James or Tom Brady or whatever, like a ridiculous, like you guys realize how good they are, right? Like they can do whatever they want. Us normal golfers, when we're going to play with a limited practice time that aren't shooting 62s or hitting at 350, probably should not be hitting a 64. Why? Because it's too much loft. The ball's going to go too high. You need to make too big of a swing in all different scenarios to do that. Well, isn't it going to help Greenside? They had a 56-degree wedge. People for like 50 years, like never had a 60-degree wedge. It wasn't out forever. And all of these Hall of Famers shot really ridiculous scores with a 56. Yes, the greens weren't as firm as fast, but still, I use almost a 56 all the time. And I can shoot par under par on a regular basis. I don't even need a 60-degree. So a 64, I feel like I'm going on a rant here. A 64-degree wedge to me is completely not necessary. But if you want to have it and play around with it, that's cool. But it's far too big of a swing. Too many, to me, too much margin of error with that.
Can you bounce on that? How does that work?
Yeah, you can get some 64s with a lot of bounce.
Yeah.
But it's like, I mean, you're making this big of a swing for like a 5-yard shot.
Okay.
Crazy.
I struggle with the right knee diving towards the ball, creating early extension. What should my knees be doing to rotate better while keeping space for my arms to come through properly? If
you struggle with a right knee that goes too far in, you can, number one, do the drill I did before, which is the club underneath the foot like this, and you can hit shots and keep that in there, because if that stays in there, it's going to be more towards your heel. It's not going to work, right? So you can do some of that. We also have a video called Eliminate Your Early Extension from like the springtime, where I set up a practice station and you put a stick in front of your leg. So it would go like this, and you put a stick in like horizontal. It's going to be a little too high, but you'll get the picture. It would be like this behind you, and you put it just underneath your right knee, like so. So I take a setup, and that's in there like that. And then during my downswing, if I kick too far in, I would hit the stick. You're going to feel like your leg and your right knee are moving more this way, not like this, okay? But as I'm turning, my leg's staying inside this wall. There's a wall here like this. You're staying inside of it as you're rotating. Your pelvis will stay back when you do that. So that's another drill I would use for that.
Very specific scenario. How do you play a shot with the ball next to a tree trunk?
How do you play a shot with the ball next to a tree trunk? You get the ball back in play, right? You don't take any unnecessary risks. It depends on where's the tree trunk, where's the ball. Am I to the left of the trunk? Am I behind it? Am I to the right of it? You are doing, you're trying to minimize risk in that scenario. So punch the ball back in the fairway. Don't be a Superman. And next time, don't hit it behind the tree, right? Is the general idea.
When doing the squat before rotating, why do the knees flare apart? Why not just squat straight down and then rotate through?
So in transition, when you're doing a squat motion, why do the knees flare apart? Why not just squat straight down? The general idea is that if you externally rotate your legs as you turn, it's easier to get more rotation. It's also creates maximum pressure into the ground. So when I externally rotate my legs and I grip the ground, which is my left foot, grips the ground this way as if it was pushing counterclockwise. My right foot grips the ground as if it's pushing clockwise. It's really the pressure into the ground this way that creates the maximum force for me to jump and turn. So if you watch guys like George Gankis, and he talks about kind of from here, you do a jump and turn back around. Imagine how your feet would be gripping and pressing the ground in opposite directions to create force that you can turn and throw with. Just like if I was going to throw a punch like that, I'm gripping the ground this way as I'm pushing up and out of it, compared to if I grip the ground the other way and push up and out of it. Like just literally do that. Grip, make your feet both work inward and push inward with your feet and throw a punch, and make them grip outward and throw a punch, and you'll feel the difference in the speed. So it's the legs going external in terms of rotation of the pelvis is really about using maximum ground pressure to push up and out, which ultimately creates speed through your arms, hands, and club.
Disclaimer, Eric Cogorno doesn't recommend punching anyone.
Yeah, no punches.
Do you have some methods to avoid topping the ball?
Of course. Do I have some methods to avoid topping the ball? Shitty answer, depends on why you're topping it. Most people that I see who top the ball have elbow structure issues, which is their elbows are too far apart, maybe during the backswing, maybe during that, but they're too far apart at impact and too much lead wrist extension. A lot of people talk about topping it like they're picking their head up. Some people lose body angles, but really to me, it's arm structure. So what I would do is I would take a smart ball like so, like this, put it between my elbows. You can see that like this. I would take a piece of tape or paint and put a line on the ground, and I would take this deal and I would learn to get that club head to hit the turf in front of that line, and I would work from about hip high to hip high until you could do that in your sleep, not once, not twice, not 10 times, in your sleep, and then gradually lengthen the swing out, and don't move on until you do that. That's what I would do if I were with you in person. I would get the elbow structure, and then of course it depends. There might be way too much weight back on your back foot. It could be ball position. It could be a grip issue. I mean, it could be a million different things. But I would start with those two pieces first.
This is a statement, but you might want to mention other products too. Brian just mentioned your slice and more program worked well for me. I've started on the magic move / shallow the downswing program recently. It feels pretty awkward so far, but I'll keep at it.
Brian said the Slice product worked good. Thank you for that. We have a Slice Fix product in our Podia page. And the shallow downswing started, which is taking some work, and he'll keep working on it. And good. Should keep working on it. Good.
Jeff is asking, what's the key pro move that they use to generate 120 mile/hour speed?
Yeah, what's the
gym?
Yeah, Jeff says, what's the key pro move they use to generate 120 miles per hour? Talent, athletic ability, force production out of the ground, good eye-hand coordination, correct body orientations, usually good wrist conditions, good grip, good club face alignments, good swing plane. How's that for one thing? No, I mean, like, listen, in all seriousness, there's a lot of things that have to be in place to produce good speed. It's the same question as like, how does someone dunk? Like, how does a guy in the NBA dunk, right? I mean, it's mostly a body force production, but there needs to be a lot of pieces in place for them to be able to do that.
Remy's asking, could it be a helpful swing thought to feel like your head is getting closer to the ball in the downswing to eliminate early extension, and how not to hit it back when you hit it forward?
Remy asked, could it be helpful to think about the head going down to the ball to eliminate early extension? Yes, it could, because if your head goes down, that means your upper body goes down, which is forward flexion, which is the opposite of extension, which is early extension. So yes, that could be. If you hit it fat when you do that, There's two pieces you have to look at. Number one, if my body goes down and forward, I don't just go down and forward here. I have to also turn. So I have to open up my chest. If I don't open up my chest, the club will go fat. If I don't open up my chest, the club goes fat. If I do the same thing and I turn, see how that moves my hand? Here's just my arms and hands. Here's my arms and hands and chest. Way different. Okay, so chest turn. And my right arm and right wrist have to change. If I normally get farther from the ball with my chest, I have to lengthen my right arm and lengthen my right wrist just to get to the ball. If I get my chest closer to the ground, I have to keep my right arm and or right wrist more bent to not hit the ground. Here's normal, getting farther. Here's me if I have more bend here, right arm, right wrist more bent.
I'm gonna ask, first question from Brian. Handicap was 28.2, 28 2 years ago. It's now 15.5, still improving. Ready for a new set of clubs. Any club recommendations?
Brian, awesome improvement. That's beautiful. Any club recommendations? No, unfortunately not. I would recommend, I'd recommend going to get a fitting. And I mean that genuinely. I'm not saying that to like cop out of an answer. That's like, ooh, there's a text. What kind of car should you buy? Do I have recommendations for a car? Not really, right? Like any of the clubs and cars, new technology are awesome. So you can get whatever you want, but I would get fit. That would be the part that I would say, get fit by somebody who knows what they're doing.
So Brian said, left knee bent through impact or straight?
Left knee bent through impact or straight. I've seen people do both. There's different combinations you can do. Most good players from the top here like this, both of the legs are somewhat flexed, the left leg more than the right. Typically, I would see both legs reflexing until about, let's say, arms parallel to the ground here. And then from there, some of them keep the legs flexing still even to here. And then they extend the legs really from P6 through impact. So from here, some people go here, they reflex to here, still are flexed to here, and then they go up and out. Most people from here reflex here, reflex, and are starting to extend really about now. So arms parallel. In the impact, you can add some extension pieces that way. So I can go like this, start to work down to about here, legs are reflex, and start extending my lead leg. The more I extend my leg, my left hip goes up or down. It goes up. So as I come down, the more I extend my leg, the more my left hip goes up. As my left hip goes up, usually my upper body tilts back, right? So I have a little bit more right side bend. So I got to turn and have a bunch of forward flexion with that. So if I were to extend my left leg earlier, I need to have a little bit more forward flexion, a little bit more right side bend and rotation to match that pattern. But either one can work.
Anthony's asking if you would recommend using a butt board for fixing early extension.
Would I recommend using a butt board for early extension? I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't had a ton of success with that with people over the years or myself, meaning just have an object back here and keep your butt on it. For me, I got to really change the orientation. If I early extend, my legs extend, my chest comes back. I like to feel my legs reflexing a lot, my chest going forward as I go, but really depth in my lead heel. So when I come like this, if I get my weight going way back and my butt going way back into my left heel, I feel like my left hip is hitting something like 3 feet behind me, and I'm like way farther away from the ball. From there, I have to bend over just to hit it. Right? If I were to stand up, I won't hit the ball. So instead of me going this way, weight towards the toes, hips forward, chest back, I prefer people to feel weight way in the heel, left butt cheek way back, or a combination of forward flexion as you go. So I don't love the thing behind. I've seen other golf pros look like they had success with it. So maybe I'm just not doing it right. I don't know.
Glenn Watson says, if I worked hard to defeat my slice and now I see a bit too much of a draw, what should I do? Celebrate.
Yeah, celebrate is what Mary said. Glenn said, I tried to fix your slice. Now I have too much of a draw. I would celebrate. I think that's excellent. Most good players have a slice in the beginning, learn how to hook it, overhook it, and then eventually you take the hook away. But you can ride a hook to shooting under par. I hit a slice when I first started. I hit a hook. I got that all the way down to shooting in the mid 60s. I shot 65, 64 many times hitting big sling hooks. So I wouldn't be in a rush to fix that. Especially if you're coming from a slice, I'd build that hook in for a while. If I'm being honest, I'd let you hook it for a while. Maybe eventually start to look at, hey, can I add some body rotation to keep that? Can I maybe adjust swing direction a little bit? But I would not be in a rush to change that is the moral of the story.
Carlos said, what is a good exercise to better shallow the golf swing on the downswing?
Best exercise to shallow your downswing on the shallow club in the downswing. I would look at our masterclass program genuinely because it's like really laid out and it's like $50, $47 or $50 this. So I would look at that. We have a million different videos on here in terms of how to shallow your downswing and drills. So I'm not going to go through all of them because we have about a minute left if someone wants to throw a question in quick. But any of those drills in the shallow your downswing, any of the masterclass one where like I put the stick behind you, right? Watch those videos on there. That'll help more than I could explain in the next 30 seconds.
Okay, funny question from Greg.
We got two more questions, I think, guys.
With spring fast approaching, will that white bench at your driving range get a coat of paint?
Will that white bench at the driving range get a
Rustic
coat of paint?
Pennsylvania.
Probably not, no.
Okay, last question. Flag stick in or out?
Flag stick in or out? You know, I don't know. I think the rules changes are kind of weird. Anything new is weird, right? The flag stick in when putting, when I watch it, just feels weird when I'm looking at it. I haven't tested it enough. I've seen some people post stuff online that when you hit at a fast enough ball speed, the flag helps it. So I'm okay with it. I think it's kind of weird. I have neutral, kind of no either way. Is there any other questions on there?
No, remind about the 7-day free trial.
Yeah, so
next Monday.
Guys, every Monday at 5 o'clock now is going to be our new time, unless we change it again. But not going to be Thursday 6:30. We're going to do Monday at 5. I think we're going to just keep this kind of free for all like it is now. We might do more specific topics as we go, but post in the comments down below what you like about this, what you don't like, what you would change. Be honest, you're not going to hurt my feelings. Whatever you guys would want to do, we're doing this to help as many of you as possible. So post up what you want to do. The other piece I'm trying to figure out and I haven't figured out yet is if we could do these where I could see your swing somehow, man, it would help a lot more. I'm not sure exactly if we'll be able to do that or how we're going to do that.
We
but
created an email that they could send them to.
We might do something like that. I mean, let me know in the comments down below if we figured something out where I could see your swings. Not a paid thing, just if I could see your swings when we're on, it would help a lot. So we might do something like that. Leave comments down below. Let me know what you guys like, what we would change, and come back next Monday. Once again, we are doing a 7-day free trial to CogornoGolf.com. If you like what you hear now, I would genuinely appreciate if you guys go over and check it out and give it a shot. You have to put your credit card in. If you don't like it, cancel before the 7 days, and then you won't get charged for anything. And come out and try it for lunch. It's $39. You guys don't like it, then you can hop out of there. But I know that I can help a lot of you guys who actually want to get better. So we'll see you guys next Monday. If you have any questions, just leave a comment down below. Thanks, guys.